I'm coming to you from Y-Refi Studios. I'm Crystal Amanchukwu, John's wife, standing in for John today. And we have an amazing Friday the 13th of a show lined up for you today. We're going to talk about Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who is a Democrat who lost the mayoral race. And when I say lost, I mean 88% to 12%. But have no fear, she has reappeared in Fulton County and she's running again as a Republican. You're not going to believe this. And then we're also going to talk about attorney Rebecca Cannon, who is running and has almost secured the seat for a judgeship in North Carolina in a district court race. Now, a little bit about her. She is a prison and jail abolitionist. She was arrested during the George Floyd riots 3 times. And one of the statements that was on her corporate website was, "We'll get you out of that cage." She's almost going to secure the seat as a judge in Mecklenburg County. Yes, the same Mecklenburg County where a liberal judge let DeCarlos Brown Jr. free into society and he killed Iruna Zarutska. And then we're going to talk about Dr. Pastor Jamal Bryant ending the Target Fest. And he is certainly out taking his victory lap. But the people have questions like, whose victory was it? And where is the victory? All of this today on Disturbing the Peace.
Protector on a mission from heaven. There's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Let's disturb the peace. We're trying to match your cool. Disturb the peace. I'm a protector on a mission from heaven. There's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Disturb the peace. We're trying to match your cool. Disturb the peace.
All right, well, we are fired up and excited about another episode of Disturbing the Peace here at Y-Refi Studios. First, we're going to talk about the Defector's Playbook. We're talking about Tiffany Henyard and her reinventing herself as a Republican. Now, we know that in politics, survival is the name of the game. All right, welcome. We are very excited about our show today. We have a super hot lineup, and we're going to start with Tiffany Henyard and the GOP realignment. In politics, survival is the name of the game. And when the walls close in, politicians are faced with a choice: win, lose, or find a new race. Today, we are looking at a story of Tiffany Henyard. And what she has done is the political super pivot. She is pivoting from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party. Now, her history is one that you have to see to believe. But let's do a rewind through a video, and then we'll come back and talk more about it.
Nobody knows something. Don't nobody know nothing.
Tiffany Henyard certainly isn't shy about attracting attention. Here she is starting a Dalton Village board meeting dressed like the Wesley Snipes character in the movie New Jack City. Later punctuating her political points with the help of her own DJ.
Every single resident. Pay me what you owe me. Thank
Furious after a Fox 32 investigation found this registered child sex offender on the public payroll.
A sex offender, you don't give them carte blanche to go into different people's homes.
46-year-old Lavelle Redmond is close friends with Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who in September hired Redmond as a code enforcement officer without the village board's approval. Redmond served 25 years in prison for the brutal gang rape and beating of 2 young teenage girls in the 1990s and was arrested and charged after our first story aired for violating the reporting requirements of the sex offender registry. But Mayor Henyard says her friend deserves a second chance, infuriating a number of Dalton residents. Fox 32 has also obtained this cell phone video showing Redmond interacting with the mayor and little children at a back-to-school event in Dalton. Notice the badge on his waist.
Mayor Henyard and other top officials traveled to Sin City in May to attend a shopping center conference. It's unclear if it helped Dalton land any deals.
Don't have a clue. We're all in the dark. Not only are the residents in the dark, but the trustees are also in the dark as well.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other questions?
Actually, yes. The credit card records do shed some light on tax dollars spent at several restaurants near the Strip, including Cafe Hollywood and Hot and Juicy Crawfish.
All right. Any other questions?
So you're not going to answer how taxpayer dollars are being spent? That seems odd.
I just answered it. What do you mean? I just answered your questions.
You said you wouldn't answer about Las Vegas.
You asked me a question and I responded.
There you have it. I'm talking about a first class, born and destined person who was born and destined to be in politics. I have never seen someone who can pivot and maneuver around questions like that. I mean, did you see the opening where she's talking to the taxpayers and uses the song, "Be Better Have My Money"? As you can only imagine, by February 2025, the voters in Dalton had seen more than enough of Tiffany Henyard. So in the Democratic primary, Henyard was completely crushed by trustee Jason House. She walked away with just 12% of the vote. It was a catastrophic rejection. And it's really sad because in 2021, she made history as the first female mayor of Dalton, Illinois, running as a Democrat. But her tenure was a masterclass in chaos and failure. A part of what happened during her time includes allegations of financial mismanagement, extravagant spending, and a looming pending FBI probe. But as we are talking about her, she lost her election this year, and days later, she relocated to Fulton County and is running in the GOP, running as a GOP candidate for the Board of County Commissioners. She just packed up and moved. As you know, Fulton County and Dalton, Illinois, that's a long way away. So she picked up and she moved. Not only did she change her location, but she also changed her party affiliation, just like that. And a recent Facebook Live, Henyard told her followers that she has, quote, always been a conservative, and officially announced that she switched to run for the GOP. Now, just so you know, in that particular race, the GOP does not have a candidate, and she's running against, I believe, 4 Democrats. Now, it's incredibly easy to look at Tiffany Henyard's move and just dismiss it as a textbook move of an opportunist. But it also taps into a very real, measurable shift that is happening in American politics. We are seeing that African Americans are moving. There is a genuine movement, a genuine shift of African Americans from the Democrat Party to the conservative movement. There's no question about that. There are people who are genuinely making a shift, whose eyes are coming open and are realizing, if nothing else, we've been doing this Democrat thing for decades and it's time to try something new. So not everybody who's shifting is doing so for faulty reasons. But as it relates to individuals who have political aspirations, there's something that's happening that's raising an eyebrow. One of the things that's happening is that politicians are moving because they are making a move in the direction of the path of least resistance. In the heavily saturated Democratic strongholds, it's very difficult to rise up among the ranks. It's very difficult to rise among the ranks when there are so many African-American Democrats who have loud voices, and you have people like Maxine Waters who it just seems like they're never, ever, ever gonna go away. And so some black politicians are switching to the GOP because it offers a unique fast track to the top. The Republican Party itself, all at the same time, is desperate for diversity, or it should be. And if you are a Black candidate that is willing to put an R beside your name, then you're likely to become a star. You're likely to rise right to the top. You get a megaphone, you get immediate media attention, and you get a district lane where you shouldn't be crowded, because sometimes in urban areas, we don't have the candidates. So is Tiffany Henyard a true conservative who has finally found her political and ideological home? Or is she reading the tea leaves, so to speak, and recognizing that the GOP might offer a warmer welcome to a Democratic defector than the voters of Dalton did in her incumbent mayoral race? And so this is something that we have to think about. So not only do we have individuals who are moving for the sake of political expedience, but we also have to talk about the fact that the GOP and many urban areas do not have enough candidates. It seems as if the GOP is leaving urban areas wide open and people are running unopposed. For example, as I mentioned to you at the beginning of the show, right here in North Carolina in Mecklenburg County, we're in Wake County, but just right down the street in Mecklenburg County, we have Rebecca Cannon, who is a self-proclaimed jail and prison abolitionist. And she won the primary race. According to the Charlotte Observer, she won the primary race for district court judge, holding seat 18 in North Carolina's District 26. This particular district covers all of Mecklenburg County. She beat her incumbent by less than 4,000 votes, and Cannon received just 52% of the votes over Asagura, who received 48% of the votes. But here is what's interesting. You have to ask yourself, how in the world does a jail abolitionist, a jail and prison abolitionist, is an activist or theorist who seeks to eliminate the prison industrial complex? These are people who don't believe in policing, surveillance, incarceration, and would like to replace it with community-based, non-punitive, rehabilitative systems. The question you have to ask yourself is, how does this person get through a primary as a judge? Now, back in 2020, during the height of the George Floyd riots, Cannon was arrested not once, not twice, but 3 times. She claimed she was just there to offer legal services to rioters, but the charges were eventually dropped. But it paints a very unique picture as to what her ideological beliefs are as it relates to justice. She also reportedly had to resign as a public defender because she couldn't separate her activism from her legal duties. Now, the public defender's office, I mean, you can't get any more pro-criminal than the public defender's office. They're pretty much there to help keep people out of jail. But even they struggle to see how she would be able to draw the line for justice. But consider this. This is the clincher. She ran unopposed. The GOP did not offer a single candidate for seat 18. They looked at Mecklenburg County, which is a heavily Democratic district where the Black population makes up over 31% of the county, and they just threw in the towel. They didn't have anybody to run. Now, this is unfortunate because district court judges are kind of important. They make decisions that impact our everyday lives. They set bail. They hand down sentences. They handle domestic violence cases. And they are the ones, it's the failure, let me correct this, and it is the failure of district court judges while we had the situation that we just had in this same district in Mecklenburg County just last year, where Irina Zarutska was killed by DeCarlos Brown Jr. DeCarlos Brown Jr. was a man who should have been in jail. Habakkuk Cannon, one of the taglines of her law firm is that we will get you out of the cage. DeCarlos Brown Jr. needed to be in his cage. And when a radical judge let him out of the cage, he killed Irina Zarutska on a train, completely unprovoked. He had 14 prior cases. He'd been arrested already last year. By the time he committed his crime, by the time he murdered someone in August, he had a documented history of mental health problems, a history of violence, and erratic behavior. So let's be clear. These kinds of lapses in having candidates and these kind of people getting through, even in roles like this, there's a lot that's at stake for the community. Instead of Mecklenburg County course correcting after the tremendous loss of Irina Zarutska's life, instead of them course correcting, they hand the primary to another judge who is soft on crime. This is a major problem that we have to talk about today. So to help us unpack this and to discuss this more, now joining me is Ron Coleman. He is an experienced attorney and commentator, and he is also a civil rights activist. Dr. Coleman, God bless you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Crystal, and God bless you as well. You managed to find the only Ronald Coleman in America who is white, but I still think because of my experience in the legal profession, I can speak to these issues, and you raise a lot of really important questions.
Well, thank you so much. The first question that I would like to ask you is, why does it seems like we're seeing a trend here. Why is the GOP just throwing in the towel in urban races, in urban districts?
There is a very strong belief among Republicans that there is no constituency in urban communities for Republican candidates. And that's based on the fact, I mean, that's really just a very long way of saying they never win. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to invest. I mean, look, Chris, let's take a step back. What's going on in urban America, politically, socially, and economically, is it is becoming less and less white. Almost every city is becoming more Black or colored. Mm-hmm. That has, to a large extent, the whites who remain are every bit as liberal or radical as some of the Black politicians you mentioned, in terms of abolitionism with respect to prison. So it's becoming more and more clear. Let's put it this way. The Republican Party is giving up not only on urban America, but on blue America. That includes the great state of New Jersey, where I live and from where I'm speaking to you right now. The incredibly poor quality of candidates that are able to get elected in places like New Jersey. Look at the governors of Wisconsin, the people who are elected, whether they're Black or white. These are races where the Republicans have given up, mostly because they've destroyed themselves. I mean, I can tell you as someone who's been involved marginally in the Republican Party, and I say marginally because my interest has been more national than local, but everyone who is involved locally, who I do, interface with, or I do talk to, agrees. The New Jersey Republican Party, the New York Republican Party, these are moribund organizations. So it's not an urban America problem. It is a fundamental problem with the Republican Party, which to some extent it's able to fool itself by winning national elections and of the strength of the South, but it's not going to go on forever.
Well, you mentioned something that's really key. There is a prevailing media narrative that Black voters inherently want progressive, soft on crime policies, but we know that Black communities are disproportionately the victims of violent crime. So how desperate, in your opinion, are these communities for actual law and order? Because we don't want to be violent. We don't know, nobody wants to be the victim of a violent crime. So how desperate are they for law and order? And why isn't the GOP making a pitch directly to them about safety?
Well, let's answer the question by thinking about why it is that Black voters vote this way, notwithstanding what you say, notwithstanding the truth of what you say, which is that Blacks are disproportionately harmed by not only crime, but all the problems that come with poor governance in urban areas. Why is it that there is such a lock on Black political votes? And part of it has to do with something we call leadership. Mm-hmm. People who have crowned themselves as the leaders in the Black community, politically, socially, sometimes in the churches too, although Black churches are by far the refuge of Black common sense in America, whether it's urban, suburban, or rural. That's where you find the majority of conservative Blacks, because they understand God, they understand God's word and God's world. The Black cultural issue is not really so different in this way from a problem I'm infinitely familiar with myself, which is, why do so many American Jews vote for Democrats when Democrats are so in favor of policies that are racist, anti-achievement, anti-Israel, and tolerant of anti-Semitism? The answer is that for 80% of the 20% of American Jews who are observant, and maybe that number is a little high, but it's a growing number, are overwhelmingly conservative. The 80% who are not observant don't identify their problems as being the problems of Jews. They have succeeded entirely in assimilating, and the only thing they brought with them about their Jewishness is some sort of feeling of justice is a good thing, and they're going to let justice be defined by symbolism mostly. And Republicans historically have not been good for the Jews. Blacks have a very similar cultural problem. A, they're taking cues from their leaders, and B, there's a deep cultural habit that's really, really hard to shake. Again, the answer to your question is money and money and the resources beyond money. What Black leader has even sought a Republican nomination? Or what potential leader? You want to tell me? There's one person that you talked about who is, who is now a Republican nominee. Yeah. We can talk about her. She's a special case. But in terms of legitimate leaders, people with real leadership potential, people who could really make things happen, you made a great point in your monologue, which was that those people, there's a crown sitting on a shelf for every one of those people if they want to run. Because remember, the GOP wins by having these candidates. Herschel Walker, by the way, was not that candidate.
I was going to mention him. Yes. God
bless him. His heart's in the right place. He seems to be a good guy, but he wasn't up to it.
So I would love to hear you say more about that. What was wrong with Herschel Walker?
Herschel Walker had not really demonstrated a lifetime of recognized achievement outside of football. Okay. I don't think the impression I have was that his political handlers, were not really eager to have him demonstrate that he had the right stuff by having, getting out sound bites. We didn't really hear Herschel Walker. We wanted to see that fellow that we all remembered as this phenomenally gifted athlete and a guy with his head on straight, or a real just all around good American, had matured into someone capable of political leadership. It's really not so different from the Dr. Oz problem. Mm-hmm. Yes, everyone knew who Dr. Oz was, and everyone knew that he was articulate. He certainly had a lot more content out there than Herschel Walker did, but there was no indication that he was fit for public office. But having said that, when Herschel Walker wanted that nomination, the GOP was happy to give it to him. If Black people of achievement and stature want to succeed in the Republican Party, you're exactly right. It's there for them. They will get resources, and it's even worth giving those resources to candidates who are likely to lose. Because first of all, many candidates lose and then come back and win, but they establish their brand the first time around. But second of all, what we talked about in the beginning, the deep mental and political habits of the community could start to break down if they see, hey, here's a guy who actually speaks our language. Here's a guy who just might be different. It is a gigantic challenge, and it's one. And look, we have to also deal with the other. What's the term? The elephant in the room, which is that Black corruption gets a pass. The idea that Tiffany Henyard thinks that she has a political future in Georgia is really an insult to the people of Georgia. But there's a real problem. Democrats are really big on this. And look, on a related note, urban communities are addicted to welfare. All kinds of programs, all kinds of set-asides. Mm-hmm. Think of, if you go into any major state capital or any large city like in Newark, where I am, which is not the capital of New Jersey, Trenton is our capital, but many, many government buildings are here and many federal buildings are here. Everyone who works in those buildings is Black. Mm-hmm. So the Black community, to the middle-class Black community, to a large extent, is part of the system. They're socialized in big government, and they're recipients of a great deal of the benefits that are promised to them. And we have a similar problem in the Jewish community, not so much with the employment, but there's been some attention paid recently about Hasidim, who have very, very large families, get married very young, and have a different educational kind of path than people such as myself, and they frequently need assistance. So it's expensive to live in America these days, especially if you have a family of 10, 12, or 14, right? Mm-hmm. And these are 10, 12, or 14 people who live together in the same apartment, mother and father are married. They're doing everything right except not being multimillionaires. But these people become part of the Democrat machine also. There's something, and this is something the Democrats knew going back way before the Great Society. This goes back to Tammany Hall in New York. Yeah. This goes back to the ward healers in Chicago. And it's not unique to Blacks or Jews. It's the same thing with the Irish, notoriously part of municipal employment in the major cities, especially New York and Chicago, and part of the Democratic machine. So it's a really, really deep problem. It's not just about race is almost besides the point. It really has far more to do with maximizing a rational reward and punishment calculus.
I agree with everything you said, and I appreciate you taking the time to say it and to really lay it out there. I think that one of the responsibilities of the Republican Party, just as the Democratic Party, is to make sure that we have candidates to run in every area. And as you said, if you're interested, if you're interested and if you're willing to jump in, the opportunity is there. Now, we had a person here earlier this week, Sheldon Daniels. He's running out in Texas, and there are African Americans who have expressed that they have tried to run for the GOP, but there's difficulty in getting funding. We know that politics is a nasty game. If you decide to raise your hand and run for political office, from your past to your present to if you have a parking ticket, if you are not almost, Jesus Christ himself.
Not only that, Crystal, if there isn't something, they'll make up something.
They'll make up something. And, I'm in North Carolina, and I go to a wonderful church here. I know a lot of African-American conservatives, but we saw even what happened to Mark Robinson. And we don't have to get into, the accusations, but he was abandoned by his party. He was a very strong GOP candidate. He was already our lieutenant governor, and he was abandoned. He was left to the side. So we have to solve the problem, because when Irina Zarutska was killed, we had all of the pundits, we had all of the talking heads, and rightfully so, we were sounding the alarm. But if we're not going to have candidates to run in those same districts, if we don't have judges, if we don't have people who are in place to get in the community and represent the right values, then we really don't have a right to complain. We tell the voters, if you don't vote, you can't complain. And I feel with the parties, if you don't have a candidate, you can't complain. So let's say, for example, I want you to think about this. Let's say if you were put in charge of the national GOP strategy tomorrow. Let's say tomorrow we're gonna put you in charge. What would be your step-by-step playbook for walking into a district that is over? Yeah, we'll have fun with this thing.
You mean after they pump the pills out of my stomach?
Okay. You're walking into a district with 30% Black and African American people. How are you going to actually try to win their trust and win their vote? Not even win the election. How are you going to try to win their trust and win their vote?
So you know what I would do? I would pick up the phone and call Billy Prempa.
Okay.
Who ran for Congress as the Republican nominee in my home district here in New Jersey 3 times, lost 3 times, and then decided not to seek the nomination because he said he wasn't getting support from the National Party.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a
guy. You hear that a lot.
You hear it a lot, and not only from Black candidates, but as you and I both agree, Black candidates are the investment that the Republican Party really needs to make.
And I will say, I agree with you. It's not just Black. I've heard that from Black and White.
Oh,
you're absolutely right. The GOP just doesn't do a good job of reaching out and supporting all of the right candidates. They didn't really support President Trump.
Well, certainly not in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So I would talk to someone with that kind of experience and say, Billy, what should we do differently? Because as I said to you at the very beginning, I'm not someone who is involved in local politics, partially because I learned early on just what a crooked game it was. And I know that the New Jersey Republican Party is really broken. What could we do differently? The one thing that I find amazing is that the people who fund the political parties don't demand a return on an investment that is commensurate with their contributions. And I remember having the discussion with Harmeet Dillon when she was running for GOP chairman, Republican National Committee chairman.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand why the donors were lining up behind her predecessor. Oh, she actually did not win. She lost. It wasn't even close. Even though the party, if it weren't for Donald Trump, there would be no Republican Party.
Right.
He saved it from itself despite its antagonism toward him.
It's true.
And he's presented them with an opportunity that I don't necessarily see J.D. Vance picking up the ball and running with. Maybe Marco Rubio can. But there has to be a complete restructure of how it's done. You know, the Democrats have a very different kind of system.
Mm-hmm.
It is more like a Bolshevik party. It's really run from the top down, both politically and financially, in a much more, you know, they have party discipline in a way the Republicans don't. And the reason, to a large extent, the reason Republicans don't is because they are sincere. They are much more likely to be sincere. Now, what we're seeing right now with the SAVE Act is making it harder and harder for me to say that, because every Republican wants it, and yet every Republican won't vote for it. So there's a problem there. Mm-hmm. We don't want to become the Democrats. It's not the kind of party we are. It's not the kind of people we are. It's not the kind of candidates that we want. We don't want to. We're not looking for a Republican Chuck Schumer, a Republican Nancy Pelosi.
Absolutely not.
Horrible people. Horrible, horrible people. But there are definitely people who know the system. I'm not one of them, and who. I mean, we also need to get the buy-in of some of the key money people in the GOP and say, come on, we know we can't get all of you, but can we get some of you to insist that the Republican Party work on its ground game and not give up on urban areas, not give up on blue states, because they're part of America too. And remember, whether it's our fault or not, whether it's the fault of our parents or our grandparents, the Democrats control all the levers still.
They do.
They control the judiciary, they control the press, they control the deep state. We've got to do it better. We've got to work harder. It's not enough to be the loyal opposition. We have to play to win.
I think one of the reasons why they control all of the levers is something that you said earlier. Sometimes we are not we are more concerned with the top of the ticket, and we're not as engaged down ballot. How do we shake conservative voters and awake them to realize that the bottom of the ballot is just as critical as the top?
Crystal, that is a question that I asked myself when last election. I had the privilege of attending recounts or in both Pennsylvania and Alaska as an attorney working for the Republican Party or Republican candidates. And we looked at so many ballots that were just marked for Trump. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. It was just so heartbreaking. You showed up to vote.
Yeah.
You bothered. Can't you fill in 3 circles with your pencil instead of 1? Is it really that hard? There's a certain stubbornness. So maybe as I think about it, there's another possibility, which is that because of the way he was treated by the Republican Party and because of the way he has always positioned himself, Donald Trump remains an outsider.
He does.
And it could very well be that a lot of people who will come out to vote for Trump still feel that he's the only guy we can trust. And one of the things I'm always telling people is that Donald Trump is not really a conservative. He's a common sense American, the kind of common sense American that the Democrat Party used to produce all the time. Is he any more conservative than Hubert Humphrey? I don't know. I don't know that. Okay, so he has more of a business background, but the fact of the matter is a lot of people identify with that. Republicans, it's a really hard thing to replicate that sort of, on the one hand, he's a billionaire, and on the other hand, he's a guy from Queens like me.
Yeah.
So it's a real challenge, Crystal, and I don't know what the answer is, but I think we both agree we're not meeting it right now.
We're not meeting it right now, but the silver lining is that we have people like you, people like John, and so many others who are working in the communities. I think we're going to get there one day. Dr. Coleman, thank you so much for being here. How can we stay connected to you?
The way to stay connected to me is to go on to X, which is where I spend entirely too much time but it helps me work out my thoughts. Ron Coleman, like my name is spelled, Coleman. Find me there, and you'll find my podcast, Culmination. I keep everybody posted. Great talking to you, Crystal.
Thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you. This is your second time, so we'll see you again soon.
Amen. Thank you.
God bless. And now on Disturbing the Peace, it's time to talk about Pastor Dr. Jamal Bryant, who has ended what was originally supposed to be a 40-day fast to DEI. And he has ended the fast, and he's certainly taking his victory lap. But a lot of people have questions, and the questions are related to what victory did we get and whose victory was it? Take a look at this quick video, and we'll be right back with our guests to talk about it.
We have not been able to get all that we have desired, but I am grateful for the strides that we have made, for the target fast that really reflects the faith-based component of this. We are claiming victory.
You can't spell immediately without media. And what's trending on social media, as Pastor Jamal Bryant says, the year-long target fast has now come to an end, and he claims victory. Listen.
Fast has come to an end. We claim victory. We're grateful. Go in or stay out. $2 billion back into the Black community as they pledged after the death of George Floyd. On top of the $2 billion, an additional $100 million to immediate organizations that are meeting the needs within our community.
Okay, let's just stop it right there. And I have a few questions. So the Jamal Bryant fans, I'm not hating, I'm only asking questions. Number one, the $2 billion that he speaks of, that Target gave to the community, that pledged and gave to our community within this year of this fast. Where is this $2 billion? Where is the receipts of this transaction? How can we access these funds that you speak of? The other question I have is the $100 million, the additional $100 million that Pastor Jamal Bryant just spoke of, that communities that are helping, organizations that are helping the community have access to. How can we access these $100 million? And where are the receipts for this? Are there grants available? Where are the receipts? We're claiming victory, or you're claiming victory, but where are the receipts for the funds that you speak of? Last thing, like you were fasting from Target for the DEI. Did anything change with this DEI at all? Just questions that I have. If you have any information or done a deep dive and can show me where the funds have actually been distributed, because I have a nonprofit, Autism Advocates, and we would love to be able to receive some of those funds to help more autism communities and more autism families, and help our autism community. But I don't see any receipts. And I just wonder, were you just given a check and now the fast is over, or what? These are questions that I have. And if you have any questions or have any answers, please comment on the comments and in the poll and let me know.
Well, there you have it. The community is looking for the receipts. We have a victory lap, and some of what he is pledging or saying that he's taking the victory for are things that Target was already working on in the Black community before the fast. So we are fortunate today to have Dr. Carol Swain, award-winning American political scientist, legal scholar, author, and former tenured professor at Princeton and Vanderbilt universities. Dr. Swain, thank you so much for being a part today.
My pleasure.
First of all, I want to ask, as you are listening to this, one of the things that Dr. Bryant is saying is that he is comparing the fast to the Montgomery boycott. How insulting, or maybe you're not insulted, how does it feel to hear the legacy of the civil rights movement be compared to a systematic oppression or a corporate squabble over DEI?
Well, first of all, his strategy is more akin to the one that Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton used that benefited themselves personally, but there was never a lot of evidence that the Black community benefited as a whole. And when it comes to his year-long fast to get Target to move, I mean, I consider myself pretty knowledgeable about DEI in corporate America. I've written books that pertain to that, and it didn't hit my radar screen. And I believe if Target had pledged all this money, they would have to issued public statements, and their stockholders and board would have to be on board with it. And so I'm not sure how much of the statement is accurate from, Pastor Bryant, but we know because of identity politics and claim it, name it, claim it, religion, that you can claim victory for anything. All of us have all these issues that we're claiming victory over, but it doesn't mean that we have actually resolved those issues.
Very well said. The name it, claim it game is a big one. I've seen so many people claiming $1 million. I'm claiming I'm a millionaire. I'm claiming I'll never be broke again. And it doesn't even have to happen. So you are so right to say that. And that kind of does feel like the flavor and the feel even of his church. The core demand, as you mentioned before, of the boycott was for Target to reinstate the canceled DEI initiatives. And Target completely refused. So why do you think a massive corporation like Target finally decided to hold the line against the woke mob?
But they don't want to get sued. Diversity, equity, and inclusion in the form that is taken on in recent years is a clear violation of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution.
Right.
And President Trump, when he took office during his second term, he signed an executive order eliminating DEI in federal programs, and that applied to contractors. So if Target was one of those companies that did anything with the government, they had to be in compliance. And then the U.S. Supreme Court struck down race-based affirmative action in 2023. And so diversity, equity, and inclusion programs were always so blatantly discriminatory against non-favored groups that no corporation that is acting responsibly would put their shareholders at risk of lawsuits, repeated lawsuits. And things have changed. Years ago, back, in the 80s and 90s, I taught sometimes courses on civil rights, and white people always thought, oh, that's something for minorities. They didn't think they had civil rights. But I'm here to tell you today that white people know they have civil rights, and they're going to press for those civil rights. And when it comes to prohibitions against discrimination, Christians have been disfavored in the workplace over the last few decades, where Christians know that they have rights now. Men know that they have rights, that the Civil Rights Act was not just about women. It's also about, it's not gender specific. I mean, it protects men too. And so people know that they have rights now, and corporations that want to play it safe will do exactly what Target and many others have done. Even Starbucks has pulled back.
Yes, they have. Yeah. And I'm so glad to see it, because I personally like to get a chai latte every now and then. And I was one of those people. I wouldn't go in the month of June. I just felt like I didn't need. Yeah, I don't need to see all of those flags. I don't need to see the rainbows on your shirts. And, it was just too much. I just wanted to get a cup of coffee. And I'm actually glad to see Target is holding the line. Now, Target repackaged a $2 billion pledge from 2020, and Bryant accepted it as a win. But this was something that they already agreed to. So does this expose how much modern activism is just about saving face and securing a PR stunt rather than actual tangible change?
Well, I have not seen what Target repackaged, but I can tell you that Target suffered because of its LGBTQ+2 agenda. And that was because many people, including myself, I still will not go into a Target. I don't know if I will not shop at Targets. And so I kind of think that hurt Target. And if they are still pushing race-specific programs and policies, they still put themselves at risk for lawsuits. And so I would love to see exactly how they package those promised benefits, because I think they would have to package it in a way where it may apply to certain neighborhoods, that it doesn't specifically say Black people. If it does specifically say Black people, I think it would be legally problematic.
I agree. One of the things that they're doing in the initiative, one of the things he asked for is for Target they tried to demand for Target to deposit $250 million directly into Black-owned banks, and Target refused. So is the era of corporations blindly writing checks to activists finally coming to an end?
Well, after George Floyd's death, there was a lot of virtue signaling, and a lot of corporations promised things they didn't deliver on in the heat of the moment. And I think that it's coming to an end because it's not profitable, and corporations have suffered. And some of their decisions were made because of McKinsey studies. And we were later to learn about 2 or 3 years ago that those studies were pretty much made up garbage, that they were not legitimate studies, but they told corporations that their bottom line would increase. They would be more profitable if they practiced DEI. And so DEI has been like fraudulent from the very beginning. And you think about Black people, my generation and older generations, there were plenty of success stories. But once we got our foot in the door, and sometimes we had to kick the door open, we excelled because all we wanted was people to get out of the way.
Yes.
And this whole idea that you got to have special programs for racial and ethnic minorities or they can't achieve, I think that's ridiculous. All we need is non-discrimination, equal opportunity. And I believe in outreach. I believe in helping people that are disadvantaged, but it needs to be done on a non-racial basis.
Absolutely. And even to that point, we're seeing a major fracture even in this movement, with Minnesota activists calling out Bryant for accepting crumbs. So what does this infighting tell us about the leadership and the ultimate goal of these activist groups?
Well, the leadership has always been begging, borrowing, threatening, and allowing themselves to be paid off. Now, I don't know how much the good pastor got for his church and then through the church for himself. I don't know, but I do know that our religious leaders have been for sale. Our political leaders have been for sale. And the average Black American doesn't necessarily support any of that garbage that comes from the universities and the elites. They're in their own world. They do things to benefit themselves. They're not even that concerned about people who are disadvantaged, regardless of race. They're focused on themselves and what they think will benefit their mostly, almost exclusively middle or upper class.
Indeed, indeed. So for our listeners, before we let you go, I know we're coming down into the wire. For our listeners who want to see corporations stay out of culture wars, and I'm certainly one of those people, what is the most effective way that we can use our wallets to keep companies accountable moving forward?
I think there's a better way than that. I think that for people that really care and they have the time, that you find out who's on the board of trustees, find out who the chairman is, get that person's address and write them a letter. That may be more effective, I think. I don't think boycotts are always that effective, but if they're organized the way the Target boycott was organized by a lot of Christian organizations that were just appalled by what they were doing. And so the people just naturally decided to vote with their feet as far as not going inside of those institutions. And they let the top leadership, the CEOs, know. And so if you are going to stop shopping because of something that the company is doing, you need to send an email to the president or email to the board of trust. And if you can organize a few people to send letters and post on social media. Social media is powerful, and then target the companies. They don't want bad publicity. So I think that is part of what we do. And for Black America, I think we have a lot of opportunities, but we have to stop begging for crumbs, looking for handouts. We need to go back to that work ethic that our parents had.
Amen.
And that many of, I would say my generation had. And that's the way forward. So many of our young people have been taught only how to be victims, only how to beg, and I think that's sad.
It is very sad. I appreciate you saying that so much. Dr. Carol Swain, how can we stay connected to you?
I am very active on X or Twitter. And so my handle is at Carol M. Swain. And there on Twitter, I engage with people. I post. I'm very involved. And I'm on Instagram as at Dr. Carol M. Swain. I'm on Facebook, Getter, but I post actively. And then I have books that address many of these issues. A lot of people don't know that I have 2 books on immigration. They were written in 2018 and 2004, but I have been out there for a long time, and I have been consistently carrying the same message, and I have been a born-again Christian since 2000, and my faith very much defines who I am, because I believe my identity is in Christ, and it's not in a political party or my race or my sex or in any of that stuff.
Well, we certainly appreciate you and all the work that you do. It's so funny that we have civil rights activists who are always celebrated in our communities, but we never get to the Carol Swains and the conservatives who are just serving the American people and the American cause. So we certainly appreciate you being here today, and God bless you. We'll see you next time. We'll have you back, indeed.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, Jamal Bryant, as Pastor Bryant, as he was talking about the Target fast, and he did his press conference, he said that we have a generation that does not know about protest, that does not know about civil rights. And I think that we have a generation that does know about it, but has found a more effective way to fight and to be activists for change. We know that fasting is a Christian practice. It is a practice that is rooted in Christianity. And Dr. Bryant is a preacher. And I can't help but think, how can a preacher call people on a fast, and while on a Target fast, if you're watching his podcast, he is pushing the LGBTQIA agenda? How do you have a Christian fast and you're fasting from Target, but you're having a full dose of the LGBTQIA agenda? How do you have a full a fast while having a full dose of fraternities and sororities, which we know is rooted in idolatry and Greek idolatry? How do we have a fast and we're not following or at least pushing people closer to Christ? That is the first goal of a preacher, and that should be all of our first goal. And speaking of economic empowerment, folks, let's face it. If you have distressed or defaulted student loans, nobody is coming to bail you out, and bankruptcy is not an option. But you can take charge of your situation by contacting YRefi. Can you imagine being debt-free and not living under this burden anymore? The first step is contacting YRefi. If you go to YRefi.com, you can read testimonials from other people who have been where you are and how they've escaped. You can even see what their monthly payments were versus what they are now. YRefi offers a 3-minute rate check without any credit impact. Bad credit is accepted. Do you have a co-borrower? YRefi can release them from the loan. You can give mom and dad a much needed break. You can even skip a payment every 6 months, up to 12 times without penalty. You don't have to ignore that mountain of student loan statements on your kitchen table anymore. Just call 888-YRefi-85 or log on to YRefi.com. That's YREFY.com. We certainly have work that we have to continue to do and in reaching the African American communities. Certainly Black mothers and Black fathers in Charlotte, they want to be able to ride the rail and be safe. Certainly Black business owners, they want to be able to walk the streets and not be afraid. I think that safety is a nonpartisan issue, and we have to do a better job of connecting even in urban districts and showing people and presenting candidates that reflect our values. If the conservative movement doesn't show up in these communities to make the case for law and order, voters will continue to vote for people like Rebecca Cannon. And that is not good. We cannot complain about radical judges taking over the bench if we aren't willing to put in the work, fund the candidates, and engage in the community to offer a better solution. I think I'll say that again. We cannot complain about radical judges taking over the bench if we are not willing to put in the work, to fund the candidates, and engage with the community to offer a better conservative. In these urban areas, the GOP needs to get off the sidelines and walk into the neighborhoods and start fighting for every single vote. Because when you surrender the district, you surrender the safety of the people who are living in it. That is all that we have for Disturbing the Peace today. We thank you again for joining us on this Friday. It's been an amazing show. We pray that you are being safe, that you are serving the Lord. We pray that you go to church this Sunday or this weekend. We pray that you continue to pray and pray for the peace of this country and all of those who are here and beyond. We thank you for joining us. This is Crystal Amachukwu signing off from Why Refi Studios. Go out and disturb the peace. God bless you.